this special episode of Final Girls of Horror, we are all choosing a movie with our favorite final girl in it. So after a lot of soul searching, it was tough to narrow it down, I've decided to do Kristy Cotton from the movie Hellraiser from 1987. This is a British supernatural horror based on Clive Barker's novella from 1986, The Hellbound Heart, and it marks Clive's directorial debut. And once again, so you know, this review will have spoilers, so if that's not cool, then just click off now and we'll catch you on the next one. This is one of my favorite 80s horror films, and Ashlee Lawrence plays an incredible Kirsty Cotton. She's a great final girl. She's using her smarts to get her through stuff, because we all know Pinhead, he could take anybody out in a moment if he wanted to, but she has to reason with him and negotiate and bargain to be able to survive to the end of the film, and I think that's really incredible. Ashlee plays Kirsty in several of the films of the franchise. She plays Kirsty in the first, the second, and the third film, and I believe she also is in Hellraiser Hellseeker from 2002. I haven't seen that one yet. I will be checking that out because I'd like to delve deeper into the series. The plot involves Frank Cotton, played by Sean Chapman, getting this ancient puzzle box. Upon opening it, these extra-dimensional sadomasochistic beings called Cenobites are summoned up. And apparently this puzzle box was so intricately made and delicate that they had to be very careful not to break it during filming. In my opinion, it's one of the best parts of the film. It's very intriguing and very iconic. Another thing that becomes very iconic are these Cenobites, or these demonic creatures. They're horrific looking, but pretty cool. And the lead Cenobite, who becomes known as Pinhead, that's his nickname, made by the fans as the years go on with the movies. Clive Barker wasn't too happy about that. In the first movie, in the credits, it actually says the character is lead Cenobite, not Pinhead yet. So I find that very interesting. This character is played by the legendary Doug Bradley, and oh my god, does this guy do such an incredible job. He's very quiet, doesn't say very much, and stands very still, but he just emanates this powerful performance. He's very talented, and I think a lot more went into that performance than a lot of people think. So the idea of him rising up as the lead character in the film kind of makes sense when you think about it. The costumes and makeup are absolutely incredible in this movie too, and that adds to it, of course. These humans are thrust into this weird realm of hell where they are mutilated physically and they are forced to endure pleasure and pain. The effects and the gore and all of that is so awesome in this movie. It truly was a groundbreaking film at that time, and it still holds up today. The whole series does. Some movies are better than others, but it's still a pretty incredible watch. Even though Clive hadn't intended for Pinhead to evolve and become so popular, I mean, the film's done so well. There are Halloween costumes of Pinhead and all of the Cenobites, and spin-offs and spoofs and all that kind of thing, so he's got to be pretty happy about that. So Pinhead in his human form was originally a British soldier named Captain Elliot Spencer. But now he's a Cenobite. Along with his fellow Cenobites, there's Butterball, there's the female Cenobite, there's the Chatterer, and there's the Engineer. The Engineer is this weird creature. I guess they're all kind of weird creatures. But I think my favorite one is the Chatterer. His face has just got no eyes. He's just this faceless face with these chattering teeth that go I love that so much. It makes me giggle every time. It's really creepy though. So getting back to the story, Frank gets the puzzle box, he summons up the Cenobites, Pinhead comes, and then he in turn becomes a Cenobite himself. They capture him with chains and hooks, and they drag him into this hell world, and basically he gets ripped apart. These are some of the best practical effects I have ever seen in my life. So grotesque, so well done. He's trapped there and forced to endure pleasure and pain. And he's ripped apart, his skin and face and everything's just ripped off. So incredible. And he manages to escape. Nobody ever escapes. Of course, they're going to want him back. But he manages to secretly escape back to the world. And he ends up in this big old house that used to be his mother's house. And now his brother and his wife are living there. They've just moved in. Well, it turns out we learned that Frank and his brother's wife had an affair before all of this happened. So he comes back, but the catch is he's got no flesh. He's like this body with muscle and blood covering him and no flesh. Absolutely disgusting. So he reconnects with this woman named Julia, played by Claire Higgins. She's really incredible. Man, she's classic 80s. Super flashes me back. She's really good in this role. So they reconnect and rekindle their romance. I mean, he's horrifically disfigured. It looks awful. He realizes very quickly that he needs human blood in order to restore his body back to health so that he can function like a human and escape the Cenobites and get away. And she's so in love with him, she'll do anything for him, including seducing men to bring them back to the house so that he can feed off of them and rejuvenate his body. So she's married to Larry, played by Andrew Robinson. He's really incredible too. And that's Frank's brother. So she has to hide everything from him too. So it leads for some really quirky, weird moments. Very creepy. But this big old house that they're refurbishing is actually quite creepy in itself too. Then Larry's daughter, Kirsty, the final girl, she comes back home to see her dad. And things are a little tense and weird. She feels there's something strange going on with Julia. And to summarize things a bit, Larry ends up getting killed by Frank. Frank ends up using Larry's skin. Yeah. His skin to cover his flesh so that he relatively looks kind of normal. He's got this blood kind of oozing. Yeah, you got to see it. It's pretty gross. And he does that. Kirsty figures out something's fucked up here. So she gets the puzzle box and it ends up summoning up Pinhead and the Cenobites. And she's freaking out. She's horrified. She doesn't know what to do, but she quickly figures out what to do because she's very smart. She figures that she has Frank. She knows he's evil, her Uncle Frank, and he's gone to the dark side. And she makes a deal with Pinhead to say, listen, I will get him, give him back to you because he's escaped. They didn't know he had escaped. They don't believe he could have possibly escaped. I'll give him back to you if you spare my life and leave us the hell alone. Sadly, Julia ends up dying, but she was kind of bad too. She was doing lots of bad things. And she dies, and Kirsty ends up at this mental hospital because she's freaked out and had this breakdown because of these things that are happening and nobody believes her. She ends up targeting Pinhead. She wins. She burns the box. But then, as a twist, at the end, we see the box ends up back with the merchant who sold the thing in the first place. Yeah, this is classic 80s. It's an incredible horror film. There's that spiritual nature that I love so much. There's so much blood and gore, lots of great practical effects. I highly, highly recommend this film. And I also think that Kristy Cotton is an incredible final girl. She's very smart, very strong, and she's able to temporarily outwit Pinhead. Incredible. Highly recommend you watch this movie. And for my review, I give it 5 shark bites out of 5. I'd give it 10 because it's that good, but I can't do that. I got to do the 5 scale, 5 out of 5. Go watch it. There are 9 sequels. I haven't seen them all yet, but I intend to do that. 7 of which have Doug Bradley in it as Pinhead. That's pretty incredible. I think near the end, he just decided he wasn't going to be in it anymore and they switched up the characters. There is a new one coming out this year, I believe. I don't think it's out yet. It's coming out on Hulu, and Pinhead is going to be played by a woman in this one. Sounds interesting. I'll have to check that out. She's played by Jamie Clayton, and they're filming it in Siberia, or they filmed it in Siberia. I think they're just waiting to release it now. And this one's supposed to be a reboot of the original film, so should be interesting. Bob Keane has done the practical effects in this film, and they're absolutely incredible. I kid you not. And he's done work on such films as Candyman, The Lost World, and Waxwork 2, which I have yet to see, but I want to see because I really enjoyed the first one. Clive Barker's novella of this film is apparently much more detailed and graphic, but they had to cut things back because back in the day, they didn't feel audiences could handle all of the violence that is in the book. And the Cenobites were actually background characters. They were not super popular, so the fact that fans gravitated towards Doug Bradley's performance and nicknamed him Pinhead, and he just became so iconic, was not what Clive Barker had anticipated. But Clive did, in an interview, mention that this was his first film, his first thing he's directed. He learned a lot doing it. Originally, the film was to be called Sadomasochistic from Beyond the Grave. That was Clive's idea, but they changed it to Hellraiser. I think he wanted to also call it Hellbound, but it ended up being called Hellraiser instead. Yeah, learning experience, and there's a lot of money and people involved, so things sometimes don't go exactly the way they could. I can't imagine the new film coming out, what they'll put into it, because things are so much more open now. There's not as many restrictions on the kind of gore and violence that we see in films, so it'll be interesting to see. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm not sure. Filming took 9 to 10 weeks, and I read, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but that it was banned in Ontario, Canada, which is where I'm from originally. It was banned until they did the cuts and the censorship regulations, and it was released after that. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's true or not. If somebody knows that, let me know. So from what I could see in the UK, it got a great reception. They felt it was really gross, but it had this real intelligence about it, and I have to agree with them. In the US, they kind of trashed it, saying that the book was much better. So I don't know. I think it's an amazing film. So if you haven't seen this film before, go give it a watch and let me know what you think. If you've watched it before, give it a rewatch because it's worth it. And now go check out the other Final Girls movies because everybody's got a different one. It's so very exciting. Everyone has their own Final Girl that they love very much. Go check them out. And as per usual, I'll have all of the girls' channels linked in the description box below. And I have a surprise announcement that I'm going to be making soon. I'm working on a brand new big project, very, very fun. I can't wait to tell you. Stay tuned for that. It'll be in the next couple of videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews, more movie talk interviews that are coming up, and the new special project that's coming up that I'm really excited to tell you about. Thanks again, guys, so much for stopping by. I love you all. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments, and we will see you again next time. Bye, guys.